What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response. I cover political news, and folks, we're going to dabble a little bit into conspiracy theory today, right? Now, we got the corporate press. They constantly talk about January 6th, but you know what people tend to forget? They tend to overlook it. The corporate press and the mainstream narrative machine never talks about this, ever. And they should. As a matter of fact, they most certainly should, because there is a case that is completely unsolved that, yeah, nobody was hurt, but there could have been a lot of people hurt. And it's kind of insane that nobody ever talks about this. And what am I talking about? The pipe bombs that were planted at the DNC and the RNC. Now, there's some very, very interesting information that has came out from Revolver News, and we're going to cover that today. Check this out, y'all. This is just insane. Check it. Government source confirms FBI dirty tricks with key January 6 pipe bomb footage as cover-up unravels. Now, they're calling this a cover-up, and they have some evidence that makes it, it kind of looks like it was a cover-up, y'all. Kind of looks like they're, at least, at the very least, they're hiding something. They're definitely hiding something with this. Check it out. Let's get into it. Revolver News first started critically covering the January 6 pipe bomb story in March of 2021. Now, nearly 3.5 years and several groundbreaking investigative reports later, the scandalous story of the January 6 pipe bomb is firmly established as one of the two major smoking guns of what we have come to call the Fedsurrection. As though this weren't significant enough, the pipe bomb story elevated still further in its significance with the release of surveillance footage of the discovery of the DNC bomb, overwhelmingly suggests that Kamala Harris's Secret Service detail is at the very least in on the cover-up. Indeed. Kamala Harris's own refusal to acknowledge her narrow brush with the DNC pipe bomb seems to defy any innocent explanation. After all, shouldn't it be a key talking point of hers that she almost lost her life to terrorism on January 6th? Now, they're making a really, really good point here. We found in that footage, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but we found in that footage when they discovered the pipe bomb, it was discovered by Secret Service. As a matter of fact, they were standing like right next to it, like 10 feet away from this pipe bomb. And Secret Service happens to look over and see it, walks over, picks it up, and then, you see it on the footage. But they didn't even rush her away from the bomb, like immediately, once the guy sees it. They didn't get him out. He walks over and looks at it, and it's like, it was a few minutes before they walked away, at least on the footage. That should be talked about a lot more, but nobody ever talks about the DNC and RNC pipe bombs. I wonder why not. That's very interesting. They bring up a really good point. These people love to lambast about January 6th. They lament the fact that it wasn't more deadly. Yeah, MSNBC does. And their rhetoric has just been insane around this thing, right? They keep saying it's Trump's fault. Trump, incited an insurrection, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, he didn't. He said be peaceful. He told these people to be peaceful and patriotic, for crying out loud. He didn't tell them to fight with cops. And by the way, if you look at the timelines, we've covered this several times. It's been proven outright that they started fighting with cops before Trump was even done speaking. Yeah, that's right. Bet you didn't know that. The corporate press refused to tell you that. MSNBC will refuse to tell you that. CNN, all these places refuse to tell you that little bit of evidence that exonerates Trump on this. Absolutely exonerates him. If it wasn't exonerating enough for him to, in his speech, say peacefully and patriotically, make your voices heard. If that's not enough, they started fighting with cops beforehand. It's all just insane, the rhetoric around these people. And then they wonder why people are trying to assassinate President Trump. He made a statement earlier today, which was funny as hell, saying that if he was president and Iran or any country were to threaten any political candidates or anybody in the country, he would tell them he would obliterate their cities. As a matter of fact, he would tell them that. Not sure if he would actually do it, but to have a leader that would come out and say that, but, we get crickets from the White House on this. They don't do anything. They just allow for Iran's assassination plot to go ahead. Yeah, they arrested the guy, sure. But apparently there's 5 different teams in this country that are trying to kill Donald Trump right now. Yeah. That's outside of the previous 2 assassination attempts. It's just insane. Insane. But let's keep going. The Secret Service, of course, gained renewed attention in the aftermath of its suspicious and potentially deliberate failures enabling the assassination attempt on Trump in Butler, PA. Kamala Harris has, of course, become Trump's opponent in the 2024 race. Thus, the inclusion of both the Secret Service and Kamala Harris in the pipe bomb story elevates it to one of the most consequential scandals and cover-ups in the country. For the past 8 months, ever since the publication of our bombshell piece detailing the significance of Capitol Police surveillance footage detailing the discovery of the DNC pipe bomb, the lion's share of attention the pipe bomb story has received has largely centered around footage obtained from Capitol Police security cameras. Prior to the game-changing release of this Capitol Police footage, most of our critical attention was directed toward the implausibly bizarre circumstances surrounding the bomb's discovery, as well as utterly damning conclusions regarding the DNC's own surveillance footage. With the pipe bomb story in its final stages of resolution, we believe it is time to return our attention to the question of the DNC's surveillance of the pipe bomber. The first thing to recall about the DNC footage is that it was the DNC's footage that the FBI chose to use in the clips that it showed to the public of the pipe bomber near the site where the bomb was planted. That's right, the footage that the FBI released to the public to help identify the pipe bomber does not come from the Capitol Police cameras, but rather the DNC itself. Very interesting, right? At first, this would seem to make sense. We learned from the aforementioned Capitol Police footage depicting the discovery of the DNC pipe bomb that these cameras in question seem to have an initial blind spot with respect to the bench where the pipe bomb was actually planted. It was only after the pipe bomb was discovered and presumably radioed in whoever was manning the security cameras that the camera pans over to the bench where the pipe bomb was. The following image is a screenshot depicting the frame of view from the Capitol Police camera in question. The bench where the pipe bomb was planted is off the screen to the right, not visible in the shot. Shortly after the pipe bomb's discovery, this camera pans over to the bench where the pipe bomb is planted, screenshot below, and subsequently zooms in. For further reference, here is an image clearly depicting where the bomb was planted in relation to the bench visible in the shot above. This is a close-up photo taken by a Capitol Police officer. Yeah, this is all insane. Very insane. It's funny that they don't use the Capitol Police footage. You would figure the Capitol Police footage would be more official, but they use the DNC footage. But we've come to find out they don't give us all the footage. They just give us the footage of the blind spot video because there's 2 cameras. But we'll get into that. By contrast, the Capitol Police cameras, which have a convenient and manufactured blind spot at the location the pipe bombs were planted, the DNC has at least 2 cameras providing a view of the benches and location where the pipe bomb was planted. See screenshots below depicting the field of view from the 2 DNC cameras. Keep in mind that all such footage from the DNC is from the evening of January 5th, when the FBI says, and the surveillance footage suggests, the pipe bombs were planted. Let's call the camera with this view DNC camera number 1, and the DNC camera with the following view DNC camera number 2. While these DNC cameras have the critical location in view and thus don't have the Capitol Police cameras' curious and convenient blind spot, they notoriously have blind spots of their own. Indeed, Revolver News pointed out problems with the DNC footage presented to the public by the FBI in a number of groundbreaking reports published in the latter part of the year 2022. First, we definitively proved that the FBI decided to withhold footage from DNC camera number 1 from the public, which would more clearly show the pipe bomber actually planting the bomb. Yeah, we didn't get that footage. We didn't get that footage at all. We encourage readers who have not read our piece on this or may simply need a refresher to watch the following video that clearly summarizes the argument.
This is the DNC pipe bomb. According to the FBI, it was planted the night before January 6th at 7:52 p.m. on the north side of this park bench. The FBI has released 2 clips of the pipe bomber at this scene from 2 different security cameras. Here are a few shots of the surrounding area, so you see the perspective. Let's call these benches Bench 1 and Bench 2. And let's call the 2 security cameras that the FBI has released footage from Camera 1 and Camera 2. Camera 1 shows the pipe bomber walking up to the DNC grounds at roughly 7:42 p.m. He sits on Bench 1. Then he gets up and walks off screen. According to the FBI, he walks the length of the DNC building, and 10 minutes later, he comes back to the same bench area and sits on Bench 2. There, at 7:52 p.m., Camera 2 captures the pipe bomber sitting on Bench 2 and, we are told, planting the pipe bomb by the side of the bench, next to the bush. We are told the pipe bomber plants the pipe bomb there, but we can't see it. Camera 2 is occluded by a giant bush that blocks the scene. The pipe bomber even looks at Camera 2 head-on, for some reason. It's very frustrating, because we can't see the moment the pipe bomber plants the pipe bomb, but the FBI can. That's because the whole scene should be captured on Camera 1 as well, and much more clearly than Camera 2. Camera 1 has a clear shot of both benches. If the FBI released the full tape from Camera 1, we could see the pipe bomber planting the bomb. Why is the FBI hiding the security footage from Camera 1 of the pipe bomber at Bench 2? Do they not want us to see the full scene? Isn't there a $100,000 reward? Don't they want our help to catch this guy?
In a subsequent bombshell piece, we made a very strong case that the frame rate of the DNC footage made public by the FBI was tampered with in order to make it more difficult for the public to identify the bomber. Indeed, the frame rate on the DNC footage was less than 2 frames per second, when the cheapest commercially available security cameras, those used at a gas station, have 8 frames per second. Are we really to believe that the DNC's security cameras had a frame rate that is worse than the absolute worst commercially available security cameras? Again, we strongly encourage readers to watch the following entertaining short video that we put together to summarize our argument that the frame rate and quality of the DNC surveillance footage was degraded. That the DNC footage that the FBI presented to the public was both incomplete and degraded raises troubling questions. This is true. This is very true. Now, they won't give us what make and model this camera is. Like, you go try to look this stuff up, and it's like you can't find it, right? I mean, even going to the blueprints of the building, the video surveillance schedule, on the detail of the blueprints, it doesn't tell you. It just says provided by others. Now, you might think, did you really go do that? Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I'm a little bit late with this video because of that. Because it took some digging to find that. But I found it, and the blueprints don't show the make and model of the damn cameras because I wanted to corroborate with what they're saying here. I wanted to see what make and model it was so I could, as a matter of fact, confirm that this camera had a frame rate of 2 frames per second. less than 2 frames per second. I wanted to confirm that, but I couldn't confirm that, so we're just having to take Revolver News' word for it on this. So, I guess it is what it is on that. We'll never really find out. But the fact that it has such poor quality means it's either really old, which is highly unlikely. We haven't seen that sort of frame rate in a while on these security cameras. It's been since like the early 2000s, like really early 2000s. So, yeah, that's some terrible footage there. And that's what they released to the public. Like, come on, man, we should get some better footage than that. I imagine, it's conspiracy theory to think that they tampered with the footage that they put out to make it look more grainy. It's just crazy to think that, but knowing what we know of the FBI, yeah, that's highly likely. But let's keep going. At what point was the surveillance footage degraded? Was it degraded originally, or did it somehow become degraded once the surveillance footage reached the FBI? Yeah, good question. Based on a conversation with a very trusted government source, we learned that a government official, not from the FBI, investigating aspects of the pipe bomb case, obtained access and viewed 45 minutes of DNC surveillance footage early in the year 2022. The footage in question was from the evening of January 5th, and footage from the DNC cameras of January 6th that would have depicted the discovery of the DNC bomb without the blind spots of Capitol Police footage had already been deleted. The government official in question reported that the DNC footage he or she watched clearly depicted the pipe bomber actually planting the bomb and did not note any problem with frame rate or clarity of picture. So that's almost concrete proof right there. Like, not really concrete proof, but that's significant evidence to show that, yeah, they did something to the frame rate. They degraded the video footage, in other words, on purpose, to where we can't investigate this ourselves. Any internet sleuths or anybody investigating this outside of the FBI can't look at this footage and make any determinations because it's way too grainy. The frame rate is too garbage for us to look at it, halting us from doing any investigations independently. I wonder why the FBI would want to do that. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Indeed. The government official did not, as one would expect, obtain this footage from the FBI. Instead, the official watched the footage at the DNC building. A number of critically important questions and results immediately follow from this. Why, in early 2022, would the DNC keep in its possession its surveillance footage from the evening of January 5th, but delete its footage from January 6th, which would also be important to any investigation? Once again, some very significant questions here. Why? Like, we understand keeping this footage of the pipe bomber actually planting the bomb. Duh. But keeping the footage of the discovery of the bomb, you would think that would be significant. You would think they would have enough storage space to keep this. You think they would want to keep it for historical purposes, whatever. Doesn't matter. You would figure they would want to keep it for investigative purposes. But it was deleted. I wonder why. That's very interesting. The fact that the government official saw footage that clearly depicted the pipe bomber planting the bomb confirms our reporting that such footage was captured on DNC cameras and that the FBI simply chose to withhold that footage. Why on earth would they do that? I wonder why. That the official reported no problem with the frame rate or clarity of the footage strongly indicates that the original footage from the DNC was not of the same degraded quality as the video the FBI ended up presenting to the public. If this is true, it suggests that the FBI itself must have tampered with the footage to degrade its quality before releasing it to the public. There is no innocent explanation for why they would do this, if indeed that's what happened. it is critically important to find out whether the DNC still maintains a copy of this footage, and if so, to make it public to confirm whether or not the original quality was as degraded as the footage the FBI presented to the public. Finally, there's the odd fact that the government official in question had to go to the DNC to watch the DNC footage rather than the FBI. If the FBI were in possession of the footage, wouldn't that be the logical place for another government official to go and watch it? It's possible that the official simply wanted to go to the source of the footage and got lucky that the DNC hadn't deleted it yet. Like, it curiously deleted its footage from January 6th. Again, why delete J6 footage and hold on to the footage from the evening before? Makes no sense, does it? But it's also possible that the FBI no longer had the footage, perhaps deleted it entirely, and the government official had to go to the DNC to view it. If this is the case, it would be very strange and damning indeed for the FBI to have somehow deleted or lost its footage, especially as early as 2022, when the FBI claimed it was an active and highest priority investigation. That's insane to me. That's crazy. Wow. So this blows my freaking mind. Like, we never hear anything about this investigation, by the way. They never found the pipe bomber. They never found anybody. They never found any kind of information to give out to the public. I mean, we've seen the videos, right? We've seen the discovery video, and we saw the planting of the bomb, or what is supposed to be the planting of the bomb at the DNC. We haven't seen the one from the RNC, or at least I haven't seen it. If you guys have seen it, let me know down in the comment section. But this is all crazy to me. Like, why would the FBI degrade the footage in the first place if they did so? That blows my mind. Why degrade the footage? Because if you look at that video that I played earlier, that little clip, right, you can't see the person's face. There's no way to know who that was. They had a hoodie on and a mask, so you can't tell who it is. Why degrade the footage? That makes no sense to me. Right? Are they making this up? Like, yeah, I'm kind of skeptical on this. I was a little skeptical to cover this, but I wanted to talk about the pipe bomb story because nobody ever talks about this. Nobody ever talks about it at all. It's one of the most confounding situations that I've ever come across. Right? Like, we never found the guy, seriously? With all the camera footage around the DNC, the Capitol Police, Capitol, and all this. I mean, that's the most surveilled town in the United States, possibly in the world, outside of China at least. Yeah, because they have a surveillance state, y'all. But there's so many cameras in Washington, D.C. This guy had to pull down his mask at some point, and you can go to all these places. You can follow this guy, follow the car. You know, the investigators do this kind of garbage all the damn time, right? Like, they'll go to store after store after store to see a car, to see if this person gets out, goes into that store, so they can get a picture of their face for murder investigations, for all kinds of investigations. How come we have never found this person? This is crazy to me. And the fact that Kamala Harris never talks about almost losing her life on January 6th. The fact that MSNBC never talks about this. The fact that the mainstream narrative machine has almost never reported on this. I've never heard anything about this from the mainstream narrative machine. From CNN, all these places, outside of the initial reporting. Like, we heard about it, and then it went away quietly. Something funny is going on when, the mainstream narrative machine doesn't cover significant stories like this. They talk about January 6th, the insurrection, all the time. But they don't talk about the pipe bombs. Ever talk about it. Right? Revolver News comes out. They do investigative reports on this stuff. The mainstream narrative machine and the corporate press do not talk about this. Yeah, Revolver News is some off-the-wall news outlet, right? They're not corporate press. Not at all. They're some small time right wing. I'll give it that, right wing news outlet. So for them to come out with this story and nobody covers this, nobody ever talks about this, is crazy to me. The fact that the FBI can't solve this, that or they're unwilling to solve it. You would think planting a bomb at the DNC would be a very high priority case. They would put significant resources into finding who this person was, and they haven't done so. That's crazy to me. But, we're left with nothing but questions, and I have zero answers. I'm sorry, you guys. I can't do the investigation myself. I wish I could. I wish I had the resources to go out and do investigative reporting. But I don't. Got a job. Got to do my thing. But I spend all my free time reading the news and reporting it to you guys. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this. That's all I got for this one. But is this not just the craziest story you've ever come across? Like this pipe bomb story. The fact that we heard about it and then it went away. Then we get this footage of Kamala Harris 10 feet from this bomb. Nobody talks about it. Right? It was covered by the news and then went away just quietly. Just a blip in the machine, if you will. Just a blip in history. Nobody ever talks about this. Kamala Harris was 10 freaking feet away from that. Just never talks about it. Wonder why that is. It's very curious. Very curious. But, like I said, that's all I got. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. See, I've screwed it up again. Peace.